If you've been a shortwave listener for a number of years as I have, you'll probably recognise this publication. It hasn't been available for some years now, the Passport to World Band Radio. I think this is the last edition. It's the latest one I could find in my bookcase anyway, 2009. And Passport to World Band Radio, as well as having a lot of interesting articles and reviews of receivers and news about radio stations and so on, it had a number of sections. It had a section which gave an hour by hour breakdown of what radio stations were on at what time. So you could pick a time. We've got here 0030, and it lists the stations that were on, and it does that for the full 24-hour cycle. See there, 0530, and it gives you a little bit of information about the stations that are broadcasting and the programming. And probably the most useful part of the Passport was the blue pages, where there was a frequency by frequency listing and a graphical representation of what station was transmitting and when it was transmitting. So it was a rival to World Radio TV Handbook at that time, although WRTH contained slightly different information, contained a lot more information such as contact addresses for radio stations and locations of transmitters and so on and so forth. As I say, Passport is long gone. I think 2009 was the last edition. Still missed by many shortwave listeners, but unfortunately, as many of you will know now, it looks like the WRTH is going the same way. I think there's a possibility that someone else may take WRTH on, but it's probably fairly unlikely. So what can we use instead of WRTH to identify what we're listening to, where it is and who it is? Well, there's a couple of options. They're not ideal. One is this is the 2022 Shortwave Guide. This is again published on an annual basis by Klingenfuss. It lists HF only, but both broadcast stations and utility stations. I'll just give you a quick look at the broadcast station section, and you'll see we've got listings by frequency. It gives us which stations on that frequency and the start and end times of transmission, the language of transmission, and the target of that transmission. And similarly, it also lists utility stations in a separate section with the frequency of the station, the name, and the mode that it's transmitting. So that's quite useful. It doesn't have the amount of narrative that WRTH has. It doesn't have receiver reviews or anything like that, but nevertheless, I'm also a member of the publication DX for identifying, and on a biannual basis the club produces this little booklet, Broadcast in English. You see, this is the latest one, covering from November 21 to March 22, and this, on a hour by hour basis, lists the transmissions that you will hear in English, gives you the frequencies, and gives you the target area. There's also some other little listings here, such as a list of the European private shortwave stations, and listings for the World Radio Network, which is to be found on the internet and on the Sky satellite system, and a list of DX and mailbag programs and stations that transmit them and where they'll be found. So all in all, a very useful publication. I believe World DX Club will sell this to non-members for a small fee, but also it's well worth considering in any case joining the British DX Club. You get this excellent monthly magazine, Communication, which has got all sorts of interesting articles and logs from other shortwave listeners. Some very useful stuff. So that's the British DX Club. So whilst none of these are a direct replacement for this, perhaps between them we can get some of the information. It's never going to be quite as complete as what's listed in WRTH there. You've also got online resources, which I have shown in an earlier video, where you can look up frequencies and find out who's transmitting on them. But if you want something that's printed and that's easy to look up, you've got the Shortwave guide, the Klingenfuss guide, and the Broadcasting English guide. Those are now my go-to publications if WRTH is not available. Thanks for watching.